I'm doing a book haul today. I won't be making this type of video that often because I actually haven't been buying a lot of books. I'm only buying like specific things that I want to read at that moment. But the ritual of just wandering through a bookshop and picking up things to buy is something I've been keeping as a treat to myself in very special occasions. The definition of special occasion is quite subjective and I just apply it based on my feeling. But this time the special occasion is that I went on a trip to London, so I got a chance to visit bookshops that I don't usually do, and I did find a lot of things that I either hadn't seen before or seemed quite rare, so I didn't really want to miss out on the chance of getting them. So the first place I visited during my trip was I forget the name now. The Forbidden Planet megastore. That one's in the Soho area, I believe, or like Covent Garden maybe, or somewhere in between. Anyways, I always love going to Forbidden Planet megastores because they carry so much stuff, and without fail, every single time I see books that I've never seen before, I've never heard of before. So it's always a really exciting experience for me. I got 2 books from there. The first one is Death Row Restaurant by Daniel Gonzalez. I do hate these stickers they put on them and I need to figure out how to get it off. So it says that this is a debut satire novel about a disenchanted flight attendant searching for authentic experiences who instead finds an unexpected opportunity running a restaurant staffed by serial killers. I honestly have no idea what to expect about this. It somehow seems to me that it's gonna lean towards more extreme horror, but I may be completely off the mark there. Based on the description, it does sound that it probably leans more towards psychological, and I'm sure there will be some kind of social commentary there, but I will have to let you know what that is once I read it. And then I got a non-fiction horror book, which again, those are like rare to come by, and if you know me, you'll know why I needed these. It is The Exorcist Legacy 50 Years of Fear by Nat Segaloff. This is supposed to be an exploration of the Exorcist movie as a cultural phenomenon. It says it has interviews from cast, crew, and participants. I guess people who went to see the movie when it first came out. By the way, look at the inside. This is bright Exorcist vomit green, which is pretty cool. And it's one of those books that has really cool photos inside as well. So yeah, there's many reasons I love the Exorcist movie and the Exorcist book, but one of them is that it instilled in me a deep and lifelong fear of possession, even though I am not religious. I used to be when I first came across this, and it really tapped into a very deep fear of mine, even though I was basically a child. So I don't know, maybe that's why I found it so scary, because like, you know, Regan was a child. I'm very interested to see or to read about any potential shared experiences with other people who also were impacted by this story. The next shop I went to is Follies. I'm just here to say that it's not Follies, it's Foils. I'm really sorry about that, which is quite close to the Forbidden Planet store. I had never been there before, but it seems to be a chain, kind of like a Waterstones, but I've never seen it outside London, so I'm not too sure about that. What I do know is that it's massive. It was like 5 floors, I think, plus a cafe, and I had a tea that was really good. So this had more of your usual run-of-the-mill, very commercial selection, but I was super surprised and happy to see that they had different sections for books published originally in different languages. So of course I hurried over to the Spanish section and I got this book by Mariana Enriquez. It's called Un lugar soleado para gente sombría. This already has a translation out. It's called, I think the translation is quite literal, something like a sunny place for somber people. I'll try to find the English cover so you can see it, although I think this is absolutely stunning. I do have her previous short story collection also in Spanish by this same publisher. Of course I haven't read it, but it's one of those things that I know I'm going to like, so I guess I just really have to get to it. I also went to Word on the Water, which is this tiny bookshop in the cutest little boat just floating on the Regent's Canal, but I didn't buy anything there because I guess since it's quite small, they only stock books that they know they're going to sell quite well, so I didn't see anything I hadn't seen before. The last bookshop I went to was my favorite. I got a bunch of stuff, and it's a secondhand bookshop, which again, a bit more unique stuff. The name of the shop is Boomcat Books, and it's in Camden Market. The guy at the till, I think he was the owner as well, and he was so nice, and he seemed genuinely happy to see the books go home with someone that was very excited to get them. So first I got these two books that, by the way, are perfect for Garbogas, and these are from a series called Pulp the Classic. So they seem to be pulpy retellings of classic books. The first one is The Hound of the Baskervilles. I think that's a Chihuahua, which is honestly hilarious. And the description says, a desolate moor, a diabolical dog in need of a muzzle, and some inbred locals. Sherlock Holmes is really up against it. With the help of his trusty sidekick, Dr. Watson, Holmes pieces together a mystery that has captured the imagination of readers across the decades, all whilst practicing a serious coffee and cocaine habit. So this does sound extremely trashy. And the other one I got is Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. I guess from the cover you can already guess how this story has been reimagined. It says, what has happened to little Alice? Taking shrooms, hanging out with hookah smoking ne'er-do-wells, and being dragged to court. That's gonna be one hell of a hangover. So I expect this to be pretty fun, and if they are, I'd be curious to find some more in this series. In this one, there are some illustrations on the inside showing some of the other books that you can find. I would love to find the Frankenstein one. Another book I got there is the second Mayflower book of Black Magic Stories, edited by Michael Parry. And these kind of little anthologies or compilations, I think were quite popular in the UK around the 70s because there's loads of these. There's like the Pan horror books and the Fontana horror books, but I have never before seen the Mayflower ones, so I was just very curious about these. Then I found these Ghost Ships, True Stories of Nautical Nightmares, Hauntings and Disasters by Richard Weiner. And this kind of books which report supposedly real hauntings and real stories are very reminiscent of things that I used to read in my childhood. I remember I had loads of these. They were published in Mexico in Spanish, but they were also themed like these. I remember I had one about UFOs and aliens, and another one about cryptids. So again, I don't necessarily believe in any of this stuff, but I just really like these types of books that gather just like spoken testimony from people who say that they have lived through this. So, don't know, it just looks fun. And in a similar fashion, the next one I got is this one, The Mammoth Book of True Hauntings, over 100 eyewitness accounts of modern day hauntings from around the world. So yeah, I do love like a good eyewitness account, and I also liked that this was international. This is the type of book that can potentially give me nightmares because I feel like it's so creepy when someone is telling you the story. I don't know, I'm really excited about this. And finally from there I got this short story collection. This is fiction. I've never heard of this before. It's called The Impelled and Other Head Trips by Gary Fry, with an introduction by Ramsey Campbell. Another thing I loved about this book that made me want to get it is that it has a handwritten dedication in the front for Mark. And then on the next page, a signed book plate by both Gary Fry and Ramsey Campbell. So I thought that was super cool and really the kind of thing that you can only find in random secondhand bookshops. And finally, I'll just show you two books that I got here in Edinburgh during a visit to Golden Hair Books, which is quickly becoming one of my favorite independent bookshops here, and there's a lot of them, but lately every time I go there I want everything. The first thing I got is a horror poetry book, and that is Where Decay Sleeps by Anna Chung. And I really wanted this because lately I've been getting curious about horror literature in different formats, and I think poetry has the potential to be really horrifying, so I'm really excited to get into this. Finally, I got another non-fiction book. This is the Aztec Myths, a guide to the ancient stories and legends. Obviously, because I'm Mexican and I lived in Mexico for most of my life, I am pretty familiar with a lot of Aztec myths, but I wanted to get my facts or my details correct because one or more of these might make it into maybe a novel that I may write at some point. And in general, Aztec mythology is super cool and interesting and weird, so it will also be super entertaining. Thanks for joining me during this book haul. I hope you had fun, and if you want to leave me a comment, I would love to know if there is any particular bookshop in your area that you love and why do you love it so much. And if you don't want to type, maybe just leave me a flying money emoji, because that's what happened to my money when I bought all these books. Other than that, I'll see you in my next video. Bye!